everything gets...
I don't know how we do what we do. It's completely elusive.
Hey, guess where I am? I'm in the studio. I'm in the studio making a record.
It's all over the place. It's mostly it's very spontaneous, even the schedule of it. Pretty much from day to day. We don't usually know necessarily what song we're going to work on. The idea is to just kind of show up at the studio. And when you're tracking the songs, and we've done this with the last couple albums too, is to just, whatever you're in the mood for that day. You've got your arm full of songs that you know you're going to record, and just pick one. Mostly I just like the discovery of the studio being kind of a playground. This record, I've kept pretty much the same guys that I've used in the last, all the last records really. First and foremost, Chris McHugh on drums, who's been with me since the first solo album, even before Dan Huff came along. And I'm really fortunate now that Chris is also in my touring band, so we have got a real thing musically together that I love, and it keeps growing, and it helps so much in the studio, playing with somebody who you play on stage with.
A lot of it has to do with knowing what works live and really capturing a lot of that energy and that spirit.
And then Jimmy Lee Sloas is on bass guitar, another cool cat, and he's played so much with Chris McHugh on multitudes of records, so they've got a great chemistry together. And then there's Tom Bukovac, who's, what do you say about Tom Bukovac? he's hands down one of my favorite guitar players, next to Dan Huff. And working with him in the studio is awesome because he plays different to me. And that's what you want. I mean, you want someone that complements what you do. And whatever he does seems to work really well with what I do.
Saddle it up one more time. Check in and do one more track. It was great.
Yeah, did it feel good?
It was great.
Thank you, Dan.
This will be the third album I've done with Dan. So I have a lot of trust in Dan as a producer. And it's hard finding a producer. I mean, the first time I worked with Dan, I'd made a couple albums before that, but I wanted somebody who could just take me somewhere else musically and make a different kind of record.
Dan Huff and Keith Urban are probably the most creative duo, artist-producer duo that I've ever worked with.
He's also got a fantastic song sense, and I think he's really good at just bringing out the best in an artist, and that's what a producer should do. He knows where I'm trying to go, too, well, as much as I do. We're both kind of trying to discover that place, musically, where we can go, and we're always trying to reach, so he's hungry and passionate, and he loves music, and his energy's phenomenal.
My job, in essence, is to get it done. How that's accomplished, it changes, like I said, from session to session, from song to song. And one song I might be much more involved from a musical standpoint, from an arrangement standpoint. So it's just trying to be sensitive to the moment, trying to see where Keith is at emotionally, physically even. You know, if he's tired, you know, it's like, hey, let's take a break, step away from it for a moment, or if we're about on it, to be, you know, sometimes crack the whip. You know, it's just to do whatever it takes.
I think the unsung hero of this album and the last two records is Justin Niebank, who engineers the records, which it doesn't sort of give him the credit he deserves because he's so much more integral to our end result. Kind of him and Dan and I mean, I feel like the Three Musketeers when the three of us are in a room together, especially when we get into overdubs, guitars and things like that. Justin just brings another energy again. He's very straight ahead, organic, earthy and real and simple in his tastes, and he keeps us from getting off the rails too much. He actually, then he's a good guy to center both of us if we start to drift off somewhere. Justin's brilliant at bringing us back in. He also mixes the albums, so the way they sound is all because of Justin too. So he's a very important part of this process.
I think Keith is tapping into things a lot more on an emotional and a spiritual level on this record than he has in the past. You know, I think he knows more now who he is as an artist than he ever has in his whole life. There's an edge to these sessions, more of an edge to these sessions than from what I can tell the last two records. Expectations are high. Everybody's pushing, I can tell, a bit harder.
It's difficult, man. I mean, you can always go back to the well of the things that got you here in the first place, you know. But that's what the public's sort of expecting you to do, you know. But all the people like David Bowie and Peter Gabriel and all the people that have done great things in music, they never did the same thing twice, you know what I mean?
Someone was saying to me, "Oh, this sounds like the record you always wanted to make." And the truth, every record I've made is the one I wanted to make. I haven't had to make any musical compromises, period. So I'm really grateful for that. And this is an accurate, honest record.
I think that was all right. There it is.